So you've been working for 10 years on Cinemassacre.
I've been working with James since college. Actually, I met James on Bela Lugosi's birthday. Actually, we recently figured that out. We were actually at we both went to an art school. James went for film. I went for animation. And we never, I don't think we had any classes together. We would hang out outside of school because we had close friends, you know. And we were having a party one night in my apartment, and James came over with a friend, and he had just seen Ozzy Osbourne in concert that night, and he had a photo with him with Ozzy. And but anyway, he came in, and we were playing like a card game. It was college, you know. We were drinking and stuff, and James we were all drinking beer, and we were playing a game like, oh, if you win a hand, take a sip of your beer or whatever. And it was early on in college, and I think he was drinking like hard alcohol because that's what he had with him. That's all he brought. He didn't bring beer, so it would be like, okay, take a sip if you lose. And every time he took a sip, he was taking a sip of vodka as opposed to beer. So by the end of the night, he was completely obliterated, and and then he's like, oh man, Mike, and this is the first time I ever met him, and he's like, I'm not feeling too good. I'm like, are you gonna be all right? He's like, actually, I think I'm gonna throw up, and I'm like, oh shit. I reach down, and even back then I was into retro video game stuff, always have been. I reach down, I grab a metal Pac-Man trash can, and I pull it up, and he didn't make it, and he threw up like all over my arm, and I was like, Jesus, and then so then he ran down the hallway and he went into the bathroom and he was like throwing up in there, and then he left, and the next day he came back over and I hear a knock on the door, and I come to the door, and he's like I'm so sorry about last night. He was like apologizing to me. I'm like it's no big deal. We were having fun or whatever. He's like, but I left my hat in your place. Can I get my hat back? I'm like, okay, yeah, just come in for a minute. So he comes in. And I'm looking around for the hat. I don't know where it is. Somehow I think I grabbed it and I put it in my bedroom for whatever reason because there were other people over. And so we go into my bedroom, and I have all my like Transformer toys and nerdy stuff, like this crap I got behind me here. And we walk in, and he sees my like Transformers G1 stuff, and he sees my Devastator action figure, and we get into a whole conversation about Transformers G1, and that was what really sparked our friendship, is just talking about old Transformer toys. And then we started like hanging out every day and playing Nintendo games, and that's how we became friends.
That's how the bromance began.
How did you meet James?
Puking on his arm. That's funny. I don't know. Have you ever told that story before?
I have. I think once we did a 10-year anniversary thing of AVGN. Not the 10-year. Pretty soon, the 10-year anniversary of when I created the YouTube channel, which is April 6th, 2006. That's coming up very shortly, but the 10-year anniversary from when James made the Simon's Quest video happened a couple years ago, because that was 2004 when he made that video, so that's already passed. Sure. And when that happened, there was a 10-year event, and I told that same story at that event.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. How did you meet James?
Okay. So it was right before SGC 2010, which was the first convention I guess I was ever going to do a panel at. I've been doing YouTube videos for 2 years. I just moved the summer before. So basically I did a whole string of my original Pat the NES Punk videos were like, I did about 9 in about 8 months or so, like a whole run of them. The classic Pat the NES Punk. The ones with bad lighting and...
Season 1 of Pat, yeah. Pat was so much better in Season 1 than he is now, right?
So much better.
Yeah.
The videos that were twice as long with half the material. Anyway, so I sent, I said, what the hell? I'll email some of the people going to SGC 2010. It was like James was going. You had Nathan Barnett, who I didn't know at the time. Keith Apicary. And then you had Spoonie. And Jared was there. That was when Jared was working at Screwtech. He wasn't a huge commodity like he is now. So I just emailed a few people like Spoonie. We were trying to set up to do a crossover video, which we ended up doing, which was a Highlander Endgame crossover. It's a whole other conversation. Right. But I ended up saying, hey, James, we're going to be at SGC. I'm doing a panel. You're there. I think you're from New Jersey. I think I knew he was from like the Toms River area or something, South Jersey. So I said, check out some of my videos. I remember I sent him the Russian Attack video, which was the last one I did, and that was my first one in HD. When I had my first HD camera, which still had actually tapes, HD camcorder with a tape still, which I still own. And then I sent them like my first Flea Market Madness for the hell of it, which was big on game trailers, and that came out. One of the first, if not the first, flea market type of videos when you search for games. Then I sent him a few others. And he actually responded to me. Now I realized even in 2010, James was probably getting like 80 emails a day or whatever.
Oh, I can tell you all about that. I'm the guy that goes through the emails. And do you remember? YouTube doesn't even have like email really anymore, or maybe it does.
They have messages, but it's like hard to find them.
It used to be different though. It used to just be like there was a better messaging system, and it was almost like email in YouTube. And we used to get so many fucking like a million. Like I'm not even like there's like a million emails. And,
well, I emailed directly though.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna get. Then we have our real emails, which is like Mike at Cinemassacre, James at Cinemassacre, and if you email that, you'll actually get them. But if you try to email YouTube, it's like literally like a million fucking messages. Like, all right, well, what are you gonna do?
That's what was the interesting part though, is he actually responded, and I was like, wow, he must get tons of people saying, look at my shitty videos. Like, so to me, he was like probably one of 20, but maybe it was a good day. I caught him, he actually read it. He actually responded saying he liked the videos. I forget in particular if we said he liked one more than another, but it's like, okay, maybe we'll meet up at SGC. Whatever. At the time, though, James is still this mythical figure in 2010, where it's like he's not a real person.
Right.
He's like the biggest YouTuber in 2010, right? I go to SGC. I do my panel. It was an awful time slot. It was like Saturday morning at like 10 in the morning. No one was there. Not that there would have been that many more people anyway, but it was literally like 15 people. But out of those 15, it was Jared, Spoonie, and James sitting like the fourth, fifth row, like with his hat on, trying to make sure no one saw him. And people knew he was there, but no one was hassling him. Mm-hmm. And I remember at that panel, that was the first time I did the Play the Punk challenge, which is what I do at my panels now, where like I challenge someone to play a wacky NES challenge, like Donkey Kong Jr. Math, the Bubble Deathmatch challenge. I remember trying to get James up to play with me, but he wasn't having it. He was just sort of like, I'm just gonna sit here and do this.
Yeah.
So it was fine. It was a good panel. And then so what happened was he did his panel. And this SGC 2010 was like the average age. I'm not joking. The average age of people there was probably 15 or 16.
Yeah.
It was very young.
Did they even like understand like you're doing like Donkey Kong Jr. Math? Are they like, what the fuck is this?
Well, in my panel, it was slightly older, but I mean like in general, it was a giant slumber party. SGC 2010. I don't know how SGC is now, but
I don't know.
In 2010, that was the Screw Attack fans. They were very young. They skewed younger, which is fine. But for people like me and James, we were dinosaurs compared to these kids.
Right.
And actually, we were like 30 years old compared to like 16-year-olds.
Right.
So I remember James doing his panel, and it wasn't like he had any support group or anything. It was sort of loosey-goosey sort of thing. And so he does his panel, and he's walking out of the panel and getting mobbed by people. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't in his panel. I was sort of like outside in the main area. And he sees me, and I can tell he's just getting mobbed. He's like, oh, shit. And so I said, hey, James, what's up? And he goes, oh, hey, Pat, you can walk with me. I think at that moment he saw some sort of kindred spirit, like I was not only in his age group, but I was not just some sort of weird fan that was on top of him, and he can use me as a buffer.
He's like, you can protect me when somebody tries to tackle me.
Yeah. So I think he saw me as like a combination of, oh, he's a guy, I like his videos, but he can be a buffer and bodyguard against these 15-year-olds that are swarming me.
I know all about that. I've done a lot of that at conventions. People will be trying to go after James, and then I jump in the way because it's like.
So I met James, I think, out of his own personal desperation. That's what happened. So then we ended up just getting lunch, and no one bothered us, and we talked and whatever. Yeah. It was funny because at the time I was like, I better not say anything that he'll like anything bad or he'll dislike me because James is a cool guy and obviously he's a big YouTuber. So I it was like more pressure than a job interview eating that lunch, Jim, just because I can't come off as some sort of asshole to him or else he'll never talk to me again. Right. It's like more pressure than when you go out with the first date with a girl. And that's how I felt it. Right. I'm sure James can tell the story too if he remembers. I remember though that was when we sort of just started talking after that. That was 6 years ago already. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So then after that we hung up at I think Comic-Con about a month later. I think he came out and we hung out at Comic-Con in San Diego.